Hey Toasters, welcome to the extra slice of Mouthful of Toast. I'm one of your toast hosts, Tim, and I have Carrie with me.
Hello.
I have Ian.
Hello.
And we have a special guest for this episode, Chris Guerrero.
Hi there, what's up?
Yay.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Excellent.
How about yourself?
I feel good. I had a good nap before recording. So.
Ooh, nice. Oh, I'll probably take one of those after this. Ooh, that sounds so good.
Yes, so refreshed. So, listeners, we have a very special episode today. We want to talk all about voice acting and the world of voice acting. And Chris is up and coming. I think he's going to be a big star.
Thank you.
And he just landed a really big role within Funimation as a villain in One Piece, Gecko Moria. So we'll be talking all about Chris and how he got to where he is now and his role, anything else we come to think of. And your questions, listeners. And if you have questions for future bonus episodes or ideas for future bonus episodes, just let us know. Send it to us, and we'll try to respond to you as much as possible. So, let's just get started. Chris, why don't you start telling us about yourself?
Well, about me, about Chris, I'm what you call a thespian. I'm very active in theater and voice acting. Mind if I tell the origins of my voice acting?
Please,
Sure.
please.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It kind of coincided actually with my theater back in the day. Back in middle school, I used to take a theater class, but for some reason my teacher didn't like me very well, and thus I didn't do very good in the class. So when I got to high school, I assumed I wasn't going to do very good in my theater class since I had to take a humanities. So the teacher there said, hey, we're doing a school play. If you get a role, you'll get extra credit for the class. So I thought to myself, well, I'm probably going to fail, so might as well try. I auditioned for, like, a soldier, right? And I was like, watch out. We got to tell the king, the classic lines.
Right,
and,
right.
And a week later, I hear back, and my teacher says, you got a role. I'm just like, oh, I didn't expect that, but okay, I'll take that extra credit. And, through the process of this, doing my first play, I slowly began to love it. And on the first night of the performance, being out there in front of everyone, I was just like, wow. I really do love this. I love acting. It's great. It's very freeing. And I've been at it ever since. And, and of course, my voice acting. It actually, all that kind of, like, me discovering theater kind of went hand in hand with voice acting because, back in the day, internet was a new thing, and we used to have the role-playing forums. I used to be a young lad of, I think, like, 14, and on Newgrounds there were like group forum things, like little clubs, and one of the ones I was a part of was called the Ninja Forum. It was basically like an RPG little thing, you make your own adventures kind of thing. And we eventually made our own little forum, and one of the guys was like, hey, I do sprite animation, because around that time, Super Mario flashes, old Nintendo games were made into, like, that's where, like, internet video game humor started to explode at that time.
Sure.
Oh yeah, the Newgrounds, like, sprite animations and all that. It was huge. I remember watching all of them.
So everybody was jumping on the boat for, like, sprite animations because, you didn't have to really draw anything that much to be an animator with those. And one of the guys was, modding, Mortal Kombat character GIFs, sprite sets. And he's like, hey, I'm going to make a, flash animation based on our adventures. And he says, I'm going to need voice actors. So I'm like, oh, that would be cool. So I get to talking with the guy, and he says, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I go to Best Buy, and I buy like a crappy, like $20 USB microphone, but it got the job done. Sadly, the project fell through, so I never got to see my first thing I ever did. But another friend of mine who was part of that group was like a legit animator at the time, and he asked me to be part of his little series, and that's when I first. That was my first thing ever. It was just like a father grieving. It was just basically a ripoff of The Punisher. But nice. It was me, like, 14 years old, trying to do my, like, most badass voice, like, it's time to get revenge, or something like that.
Like, mid-puberty, trying to be a badass.
Yeah, exactly.
The best time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I eventually found these forums called the Voice Acting Club. And I got involved with the community there, and I became friends with a lot of people there. And of course, I was going in tandem with my theater work. And as I was progressing as an online voice actor, I was, progressing as a legit actor. I'm not saying legit, but I was progressing as a theater actor back IRL.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I think Ian and I both have a bit of an acting background, Ian more so than me, and it's definitely getting started young is the best way to get into it. But over the course of years with theatrical and voice acting opportunities, what are some of your favorite shows that you did when you're on the stage, for example?
What is my one of the last plays that I did was a stage production of Metropolis based off the Fritz Lang film. So the interesting thing about that was it was silent theater. It was all pantomime. Well, we had, not like complete pantomime like our town, where it's just like, well, we have no props, just complete pantomime. We had, the props, but, we didn't, we went along to the music because we had a live band.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And that was really cool because I had never really done anything, where I hadn't spoke for like, long, an entire play basically.
Yeah.
So it was a very new experience for me, but that was really fun. The funny story is to get to the other side of the stage, there was like this little hole that went under the bleachers where the audience sat, and there's a hole that went to the other side. So we would all have to do like a hunch run across through that hole. And one time there was like a plank of wood that if you didn't look out for, you would bash your head, and I hit that plank at least 5 times during that production.
Ooh.
Yeah. Backstage stories are the best.
Yeah, definitely.
The hazards of acting.
And another quickie, when I was in high school, when we did the production of like Shakespeare in the Park, but with high schoolers, Midsummer Night's Dream, that was one of my favorites as well.
Oh, that's a great show.
Any particular role that you're drawn to in that show?
Ooh, not my role, but I love Puck.
Yes, I mean, Puck is Puck.
Of course.
That's good. Yeah.
Of course.
I'm sorry, go on.
I was just going to ask, I was going to transition to voice acting roles and how you started with like fan dubs, and I think you have a pretty big internet rep for being a guy who's done a million parodies and fan dubs of just any series under the sun. So what's some of your highlight projects from that? I remember one of my favorites is you reading off the Madoka Magica Become Maguka parody. That's one of my favorites. Like what are some of your favorite projects doing like fan parodies and such, and how'd you get into that?
I got into those basically when I wasn't working on actual voice projects. If I'm waiting on an audition for, with the Voice Acting Club and the another site called the Voice Acting Alliance, while I was auditioning and waiting for other stuff, I would do these little things while I was aboard to try, get some practice in, maybe try new voices, new techniques, mess around with audio editing. Basically, you know, an excuse to try to improve in some areas and to experiment. Spawned, you know, like the Madoka dubs and all that. I don't think I really started popping up until I made the Madoka dubs, which is funny because I had saw the original thread on 4chan, and I just thought it was hilarious, and I was like, well, I want to do like a dub of this, and I just woke up one morning, like it was literally 6:30 in the morning. I don't know why I woke up at that time, and I just walked in the booth very groggy and going, well, we're your friends, Madoka.
Good.
I mean, for all the listeners out there, Tim invited Chris to stay in our Otakon room, and he said, oh, we're going to have a voice actor working for Funimation who's going to stay with us. And, you know, that's cool and all. But I think I would have to say that charitably, I had to have just lost my shit when you, like, revealed that you had been the person who did those Madoka dubs. Like, oh, jeez. Like, I've just been watching that YouTube video on repeat for so long.
The video was just
hero.
like, yeah.
So never undersell your fame. It's there.
Oh yeah.
It never really hit me until I met the people that said, hey, I liked your video. I was like, people watch that?
What?
People listen to what I do? What?
Yeah, as so much for like, yeah, a lot of my practice came with voice acting, you know, with the online stuff and the community at the time. I met some great people, one of them being a man called D-Mac, Devin Mac, and right now he's a professional voice actor in Canada who does stuff for like cartoons, like, you know, Canadian cartoons you'd like see from 16 and Total Drama Island. Those from that, yeah, from that like animation company and all that.
Oh,
I
good.
think the last thing,
Johnny Test?
not Johnny Test, I don't believe. I think his
They
last
dodged that bullet.
his last cartoon project he was lead in was like something when the butts attacked, the day the butts attacked or something.
Oh, good.
But no, he was one of the people that really helped me out in the beginning, along with Arena Chan, Kira Buckland, also a professional voice actor based in LA, who actually founded the voice acting club and gave me some vital tips back in my early days.
That's awesome. So
That's really cool.
you had a lot of different contacts and people you were meeting while part of these communities, and I think any up-and-coming voice actors listening to us right now, I think the biggest advice you can take away right now is just work all the time and join communities where there is work for you and other voice actors and talk to them and try to get out there. So I think that's really strong that you had a background of just reaching out to people and finding opportunities wherever you can. Even like you said, in your downtime, you just be like, well, I want to do a fan dub because I want to play with my voice, figure out what I can do. So that's really cool. I think definitely any listeners who are interested in voice acting should take that away. Now let's get back to anime.
Oh.
Ooh, anime? What's that?
Well, you've definitely proven that you've got stage chops. I mean, your stage shows are always a thing. You've already mentioned Shakespeare, you've mentioned Metropolis, but I think our listeners are a little bit more into the Japanime thing.
Japanime thing? Okay.
Yeah.
I think a few of them like it. I don't know.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah.
So could you kind of go through the background of, well, your personal connection with anime, if you had any anime that influenced you into potentially taking up voice acting? Anything like that, just your history with the medium as a whole.
Well, I think like most everyone, we all started off with Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind of like the progenitor of the modern day weeaboos that are us.
Basically, like that's like the patient zero of anime right now. It's like that's how everyone got infected with it's just DBZ screaming at each other.
Yeah, but mostly, yeah, with DBZ and the Toonami lineup, honestly. Because we had Yu Yu Hakusho, Gundam. We had a lot of just Golden Age anime there that was just opened up a lot of doors for us back then to do anime doors.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I started off with Toonami and all that, and I never really paid attention to anime. I was just really hype on DBZ until one time I went to a trip to Mexico, and my mother had gotten me this comic book from like the grocery store. Well, it wasn't actually a comic book. It was what you would call a manga.
Oh.
And it was actually a Shonen Jump.
In
back in
Mexico?
No, before we went to Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so don't worry. Yeah, it was in English. I could understand it, actually.
Spanish Shonen Jump.
But, yeah, no,
Shonen Sampa.
of course it had it, the standard DBZ fare. But, I saw an interesting manga that really caught my attention.
Yeah.
It went by the name of One Piece.
Ooh, I like One Piece.
Oh no.
Oh, jeez.
It was just
Open the
about
floodgates.
a boy and his dream to become king of the pirates. So it's just like, all right, I'm down where this was going. I think at the time, it was kind of far in. I think it was at the part where Luffy was fighting Don Krieg.
Oh, yeah.
It was at that point. So that fight really had, drawn me in. So I asked my mother, hey, when I came back from the trip, could I get a subscription to this comic? And she said, she's like, well, okay, you better read them. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to read them.
You don't understand, Mom. I'm going to be a pirate now. I have to read these.
And I literally have just like mountains of them. There's just like so much, at least an entire tree worth in storage right now.
Nice.
And that's, I guess at that time also the 4Kids version of One Piece was out, and I had watched that as a child.
Oh,
and
no.
I was just like, yeah, that was awesome as a kid.
Oh.
And then
It's okay. You didn't know any better.
I had some chart. I liked Sanji though back in the day. He was like a Luffy. I love that voice.
That
was one of my
favorites. I got a lollipop.
Doesn't the voice actor of Sanji actually own a bar in New York now?
Does he?
That would be
Yeah,
hilarious.
That sounds
I think
really
he
good.
does.
I hope he walks around with a lollipop in his mouth while he's serving drinks.
I really hope he calls it Sanji's, yeah.
Yeah, I hope he does the voice though. Like that'd be great. But yeah, so One Piece isn't the only series, even though in my eyes it feels like it is.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I was into a lot of like shonen anime stuff at the time, and I don't know when I made the connection or it clicked. I was like, oh, I live in Texas. I live in Dallas, Texas. There's a dubbing studio near me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I do some acting. I like anime. Maybe let me connect. Maybe they'll let me audition.
Senpai will notice me?
Senpai was noticing me, but of course I had to be in my hyperbolic time chamber a little while longer to train.
That's fair. Yeah.
But what was it? But also interesting story. I think I've told you before in the past, Tim. Back in high school, I had a bad lisp.
Oh, did you?
Yes. So, for instance, the word business or businesses, I would say businesses.
Oh no.
So it was that kind of a lisp I had.
Oh. So, but you clearly overcame that.
Yes. And strangely enough, I never went to speech therapy. I actually just watched how people talk and where they placed their tongues. And just stuff like that. I'd be like, where are you placing your tongue when you say that word, when you make that sound? And I would ask questions like that. So if you have a speech impediment, I believe that you can overcome it. So never lose hope.
That's awesome. Just sheer force of will. You're like, I'm gonna make me talk better.
It's
interesting.
It's a very special episode, guys.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. My father's a broadcaster, and when he was a kid, he had a really severe stutter. And by the time that he got into broadcasting, it had been forced out of his system.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
So,
yeah, listeners, you can do anything. Believe in yourself.
Oh yeah, if you have a speech impediment, get over it. I think you're more employable than the rest of us. It sounds like it.
Yeah. I can't get anything. Whatever.
I mean, if you got the right speech impediment, maybe you can knock Bob Bergen off the throne and become Porky Pig.
I mean, some people own it. Some people can overcome it, and some
they
people,
do.
If you need therapy for it, that works fine too. But like Chris says, inspirational words of Chris, like you can do anything. So
Yep.
or at least you can become a voice actor.
At the very,
It's pretty good.
You
I think.
can't overcome a speech impediment and then blast off into space. I don't think you can do anything, Tim.
I'm pretty optimistic here.
You know what?
I feel like if you overcome a speech impediment, you are capable of anything.
All right.
Anything.
Have the willpower.
Very empowering.
Just like my favorite anime. You can be king of the pirates.
And we're right back to One Piece.
I had to. Sorry.
Moving on.
A very special episode.
I'm geeking out here. Give me a second. So do we want to move to our listener questions?
Yeah, sure.
I believe so.
Sure, I can take some questions.
Yeah, we had just a few who were interested in what you got going on. Actually, I'll save this one for a second. Here, on Twitter, we had TB ask, is there any kind of barrier between Western cartoon VAs and anime dub VAs? Have you noticed any of that? I noticed there's not much overlap between the kind of actors they get at Funimation and Nickelodeon stuff. What's your personal take on that?
I wouldn't say there's a big barrier because the Japanese themselves dub episodes. Usually they'll have to dub anime themselves. It's not, they'll go in after the animation's finished. So, but I think, obviously the flaps are there, to fit their style of speech.
Could you explain that? Yeah, the difference between like dubbing anime and recording for a cartoon. Could you explain a little bit of that for listeners?
Yes, the difference between dubbing anime and prelay animation, and prelay is American animation here, is with anime, the animation's already done. So we, as the actors, have to match the mouth flaps of the characters' mouths. So it's kind of like you have to have a sense of rhythm, a sense of beat to go with the flow of their movement. So sometimes you'll have to try to say, we need to get out of here now. And they're like, hey, that was good, but could you clear up the diction a bit? And you're like, okay, we need to get out of here now. Okay, that's good, but you're off by like half a second. Let's do that one more time. So you'll go through stuff like that.
Okay.
But sometimes you can kind of cheat it. With a prelay animation, you can go at your own pace.
And that's basically because the animation hasn't been finished yet.
Yeah, they animate to your voice.
Okay.
Okay, and a lot of times I think they do like group recordings with all the actors there for like the Western cartoons. A lot of times they'll do like, instead of just isolated sessions of just get the flaps, match up with the mouth flaps, you actually get everyone in the studio. Have you done anything like that, like a prelay?
We don't do that for like if we're doing main characters. Usually when we'll get a lot of people in the booth is when we do something called WALA. And WALA stands for with all actors. And that's when we come in and we play, the background characters, the crowds that go, rabble, 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 rabble. And we'll come in there, we'll scream, we'll shout for maybe an hour or two, then we'll step out and go in one by one because we'll do little bit parts like, watch out, he's got the gun. And the other guy will be like, I got shot by the gun. And with prelay animation, with that, I think for most everything, they do cold readings. They have a round table. They get all together and they read the script maybe two sessions, and not recording, just to, have a table read. And then they get in the booth together and begin the true magic.
That sounds really fun. Have you gotten an opportunity to do something like that before?
No, nothing. I wish. Probably if maybe video game stuff here, if I get some. Because I know with Gearbox and stuff nowadays, they're incorporating the mocap acting. So, they're no longer separating the mocap actor and the voice actor. Instead, having, an actor.
That's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, and
especially with Troy Baker, he's just off the chain.
Oh, he's in everything. It's so good.
Yeah, and all that. He's that's mocap acting. That's him as well as the character.
Wow. I didn't know that at all. Wow. Yeah.
So theater background, like stage acting, and more so film acting, can really play into your experience voice acting, because you have to get your face right for them to do it for the game.
Yeah, I mean, every other voice actor who I've spoken to says that it's basically a prerequisite that you have some sort of stage acting or film acting background before you even think about going into voice acting. Would you say that's the case?
I wouldn't say it. It's not always the case.
Okay.
Sometimes there will be diamonds in the rough with no acting experience. Actually, Steve Bloom, all famous voice actor, Amon and Korra, Spike Spiegel, he never had an acting background. And
okay.
He was just doing funny voices in The Office, and his boss was just like, "Hey, those are good. You should record for some of this anime stuff."
You should become an anime legend.
Yeah, back in the early days, it's just early LA dubs. Great Teacher Onizuka way back then.
Wow. So back when they just were we just need someone to fill in the spot. You're funny sometimes. Get in the
booth. Stuff like that.
Okay, but the main question I'm wondering for you is, now that you're doing anime, do you feel like you're stuck in the anime world now, and you don't think you can do Western cartoons or I mean, you think you've done some video game work? I know you did Dust and Elysian Trail, yeah, and you were in Heroes of New Earth, I believe.
Yes,
Wait,
sir.
who are you in Dust? I played that game once.
I played the commander that would report to Gaius ever so after every chapter, I believe.
Right. Okay. All right. Sure.
Okay. So do you think you're stuck with anime now? Is that for voice actors, once they get into dubbing, that they stay dubbing, or is there any overlap?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think dubbing is actually a great stepping stone in getting into voice acting, because how I talked about with matching the rhythm of the, sorry, badly explaining it, matching the mouth flaps.
Right.
And getting the rhythm of that. And, and getting it precise. Okay, could you hold this longer? Could you put emphasis on this? But being able, you have to be able to take direction accurately to, get things done efficiently in dubbing. And I think that really carries well over to other mediums of voice acting.
Sure.
Okay.
But no, I don't think I'm pigeonholed into anime dubbing. I have my own studio. I do I do a little my freelance stuff. I record for video games. I'm actually working on recording for an animation right now.
Oh, really? Can you talk about it, or is that?
Yeah, it's his name's Christopher Nyosi. He makes an online animation called Tome.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one of his babies. So I got to make sure I do a good job for him.
Of course.
Right.
And you can find his series on YouTube and Newgrounds.
Sweet. Okay, let's move to our next listener question, which is from Julian on our Facebook page. He asks, what goes in deciding whether a show gets a fairly straight translation like Yu-Gi-Oh, or a gag dub like Shin-Chan, or both like the Super Milk-Chan show? Do you know that process?
I wouldn't know that process. I'm just, this is assumptions. The only time I would assume they do something like that, I've noticed, is if they get like kind of like a very long running anime. And it's like a humor, like, you know, just a comedy-based anime. It's just about gags. It doesn't really have a continuity to it, like Shin-Chan and Sergeant Frog. But most of the times, the jokes rely on, you know, Japanese culture. If you made a literal translation, it would make sense. Like the original Super Milk-Chan dub, they did a literal translation. And you're like, I don't understand what's going on. Right. It's wacky, but I love it, and it's wacky, but I have no idea what it's making reference to. Right. So the script writers must adapt it for an American audience.
That makes sense. Yeah, I see that being, you know, how much of this material can we work with? But do you find yourself ad-libbing a lot? Do you get flexibility with some lines?
We can get flexible. I haven't done anything too much in like recording for like named characters, but with bit parts, sometimes you throw something out there.
Just change it up on the spot and see where it goes.
Yeah, be a background. Go, my
leg. Okay, but. As Gecko Moria, as the big villain, the big part you got right now, you had to pretty much stay on track for that. There was no. Is there going to be a blooper reel?
I wish. I don't think any of the DVDs have. The One Piece DVDs have had a blooper reel yet, so I wouldn't bet on it. But I would love it if there was, because with Gecko Moria, I would have to use a lot of breath. So I would be like.
Yeah, One Piece has all the crazy laughs, so I see that being definitely like taxing on your voice.
Oh yeah, and with Moria, his volume was loud and then louder.
As a quick question, actually, about improv and voice direction. I was wondering, a question that I've always had is, like, yeah, you're always supposed to match mouth flaps when your character's speaking on screen, but I was just wondering what voice directors tend to do if the mouth of the character isn't visible during a line.
Isn't visible during a line?
Yeah, like, for instance, if it's an over-the-shoulder shot, for instance, of his back... And, like, do you then get a bit more freedom to interpret the rest of the line in a different way, other than just getting there before a cut happens or something like that? Or is it still, in some way, matching an original, like, take or what?
You can get a little more free with it. I can speak a lot about this because in Toriko, I had no lip flaps to match because it was just straight-on narrator. But, so I could take some liberties with the pacing, but I couldn't stretch out with it too much because I still had to say it within timing.
Right, yeah, before the scene transitions or whatever.
Yeah, so let's say line 1 has to be 5 seconds. I can go, you know, be free to stretch and turn with it, but I have to do it within those 5 seconds.
Right. Very cool. Okay, so let's talk a little more about Gecko Moria because our listener Ethan asks, were there any inspirations for your performance as Gecko?
Actually, there is an inspiration. Obviously, the original voice actor of Gecko Moria, but of course, I think you might know the character Tim. He's from a little game called Dota 2.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I think you're very familiar with Bane.
Yes. He's like a nightmare stealer and like this little grotesque purple, like he looks like a nightmare. He's just like he corrupts dreams and is pretty powerful.
Sure.
Okay.
And one of the main things I pulled from that actor's performance of that character was the kind of wavery quality he had to his voice. Because Bane's just like, soon the nightmares will come, kind of like this sound.
Which is a great impression. If anyone's played Dota, that's spot on. That is Bane.
And with Moria, I did the same thing. It's with Moria being a little rougher. So I would do something like this. so they have that same wavy quality to it.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Gecko Moria, for those who don't know, is a very over-the-top character. He looks like a giant eggplant.
He looks like something straight out of a Tim Burton movie.
I believe Luffy actually refers to him as like a shallot, the onion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just completely ridiculous in that he is the boss of this big Halloween island and is just spooky as hell.
So he is straight out of a Tim Burton movie.
Oh, yeah. He can control shadows too.
Okay.
So yeah, he has big scissors and he'll just snip your shadow off and then use it like a puppet and possess zombies with it. Yeah. One Piece gets dark.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Grim dark.
Yeah. So he's a really over the top character that I could definitely like tell from what I've seen of the trailer, the Bane influence. Say he's a creepy guy.
And I've noticed because those are where Moria is at his most intense levels, like because he's just like announcing to everyone. But I've noticed from a few comments that if you listen or if you go back and listen to Krusty the Clown, they were saying it has the same kind of quality. I'm like, oh my goodness, they kind of do.
Gecko Moria, Krusty the Clown, same guy.
Same person.
That's really cool. Thank you. I think.
So I guess I maybe subconsciously a little Krusty, and just a little pinch of the Crypt Keeper.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see all that. That I can hear all of that in the
Right.
voice. So that's really cool. So let's talk a little more about Funimation and working for Funimation. What was your first role with Funimation?
My first role, like just anything in general.
Yeah, what was your big break with Funimation? Like, what got you into what got you in the doors?
What got me in the doors was I had actually submitted my acting resume because on their website they have you're free to submit your resume to them, and they say, well, we'll go through the list and expect a call within a year after submitting. And I had submitted, and it had been like 7, maybe 8 months. And just one day I got an email from Funimation. I thought it was just like the newsletter. And it said Tara Williams. I'm just like, wait, what? I click on it and it says, hey, could you come in? We're auditioning for this show called Level E. I'm just like, what's going on here?
It's happening.
It's happening. And of course I had my fanboy moment. I was just like, oh yes, it's happening. And so of course I was also pretty nervous. I've never done anything like that before, going to like this professional studio where they do the greatest titles known in all anime, and I'm just like, there's some guy being like, hi, I'd like to audition for your anime, please. But yeah, no, I went in and I read for a few of the characters, and I didn't hear anything back, and I went in and they called me back like a month later, and they were auditioning for Toriko.
Okay.
And I was just like, well, it's time to prove myself yet again. So I go in and, I give, I believe, hit my mic there. I believe I read for Coco, Sunny, and also the narrator. And then I left and I didn't really hear anything back. And I got called in to actually do some bit parts for Level E.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just waiting, and then I got an email from Tara saying, Tyler would like you to come in to record for Toriko. And FYI, they usually don't tell you who you're voicing when you come in.
Ooh.
So I had no idea who I was voicing, just how many hours I would be recording. And I only had 2 hours, I believe. So I went in, and I'm just like, so Tyler, who am I playing? And he says, you're going to be the narrator. I'm like, oh. Excuse me?
You picked me?
You pick me? Yeah, is it? I'm gonna walk out. Gonna be the Funimation show, getting pranked big time.
It's like some secret camera somewhere. Yeah,
yeah. But no, it turned out he actually wanted to use me, and I was just like, well, let's do this.
Yeah,
and that's how my humble beginnings with dubbing anime began.
That's nice.
Awesome.
With big old Toriko.
Yes. That's another big shonen series too. I don't know if any of our listeners are big fans, but that I think you do a great job as a narrator for that. That was you just have like a really good narrator voice. I'm sorry to geek out over your voice, but
Thank you. It was just it was extremely fun because obviously Toriko is a very over the top anime. So the narrator could just describe just these over-the-top lands. I would say my favorite part of dubbing that anime is when the line came up, "Scrum diddly-umptious." I'm just like, I get to record that line? Score! You pay me to say this stuff? All right. I'll do it.
Wonderful.
That's so speaking of that, as someone who's getting more consistent work from Funimation now, I'm guessing you can't do just Funimation full time. Is that what you find right now?
Yes, Funimation, it'd be cool, unless you're like, I guess, the really hot item, and of course you have to be just a really, really awesome actor to be just called in all the time, but you're competing with so many other people, like, I feel very blessed when I get a role because you're competing with at least maybe 100 other people for a role. Because the Dallas area just being rich in the theater scene, so it does not have its lack of actors.
Right.
But I totally forgot the original question. You repeat that one more time?
I was just asking, like, can a voice actor just live off of voice acting as it is? Like, do you find yourself do you find yourself struggling to make ends meet while voice acting right now?
No, I do have a day job. Voice acting, you never know when your next role will be. You never know when you're gonna get the next part. So you can't rely on voice acting to be the constant moneymaker until it actually starts making you money at a constant rate, and you know it's going to be a reliable cash flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Until then, until you know you have the chops, until you know you're doing voices for everything, because you just can't stop in anime. You have to be doing commercial, industrial,
right?
Everything, because commercial and industrial, that's where the real money is in voice acting.
Ah, yeah. Like credit card commercials and stuff.
Exactly. No, if you get a national commercial, you're just making that bank.
Now, I have a quick question. I'm assuming the work that you do for Funimation is essentially on like a freelance basis. It's not like you, like if Aniplex was to come along and say, hey, we have a role for you, it's not like you wouldn't be able to take that because you have some sort of contract with Funimation. Is that correct to assume?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
We are essentially freelancers. I can't be like, hey, could I just get direct deposit? No. Here's your check. No, I did not know that. I wasn't privy to it.
Right.
So I was like, do you guys do? It was like, no, you have to be, an employee of it here, actually, because you're basically a freelancer. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Cool.
But if another studio is like, hey, Chris, we want you, like, there won't be any conflicts of interest, will there?
No. As you've obviously seen with Attack on Titan, they've gotten some big LA talent over with Bryce Peppenbrook, Matt Mercer, and Laura Londa. So there really is. It's not like sacrilege to do work with other anime dubbing companies or any other company.
Right.
Okay.
Very cool. So let's just talk more about like dubbing in general in the industry, the American industry. What are some shows you hope come over and get dubbed and that you get to maybe take a part of? But just overall, what are you hoping comes down the pipeline for America for Funimation or any other company to put out?
put out? Right now, I'm excited to see what Funimation does with Ping Pong, the animation. Anime Funimation had been streaming the last anime season. And it was just the plot's about two boys who it's a very character-driven show about these two boys who play ping pong, but it's basically just a character analysis about, well, who these people are and what connects them to the sport.
Nice. Okay. So hopefully there'll be something good coming from that soon.
And what am I dream? If it would be a dream, it's never going to happen. There's an anime called Kaiji that I'm a huge fan of. It's an anime all about gambling, but at super high stakes.
Oh, I have watched a bit of this. Everyone has giant noses and cries a lot.
Yes, the animation style is very unique.
Very sharp characters, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love it to come to America, but it came out in 2007, so I don't think it's going to be hitting the States any time ever.
We'll see.
Hopefully, make a dream.
I was going to ask a question, like, because, for instance, in theater, you can always say, like, you can always have the dream roles of shows that have been written and already exist and get put on every now and then. Like, I can always be like, oh, I've always wanted to do Hamlet. But I was wondering how, like, what big dreams, what big aspirations do voice actors go for when it comes to roles? Do they just kind of hope for, like, a certain series? Like you mentioned those two series, but do they just mostly just watch series coming over and then hope that they can get the big role in that sort of thing?
Well, I can't speak for other actors because I would say most of the time some of these people really aren't into anime. They'll understand or know enough about their shows that they voice in, interact with fans and have discussions with them.
Right.
So I would say there's a few people that would be like, oh man, it'd be cool if I would love to audition for this role. Or I would love to audition for this role. So I wouldn't say that's too much prevalent in the at Funimation. Or with I like I said, I can't speak for the actors. I know I'm a geek and I'll be like, oh, they're dubbing this anime. Can I audition for him?
Yeah, it seems like with voice acting in general, it sounds like you're a big fan of anime and you're living the dream right now. So that's really great.
Now I've got a quick question.
Okay.
Given that the redub of classic Sailor Moon just came out and has done spectacularly well for Viz and for Hulu, do you think that is now going to set a precedent for other studios to then be like, hey, our dub of this show 15 years ago was really shitty, but people still like this show. We're going to go back and we're going to dub it over again. Do you think that's a possibility for potentially stuff that we grew up with, where looking back now, it's like, wow, the dub of this was really bad?
I would have to say, in my opinion, if it was very, very profitable, of course, Sailor Moon having a huge fan base,
right?
And of course, Viz obviously jumping at this chance to do this business move with a new series coming out in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And while the hype was still there and continuing, it would just be silly not to jump on the hype train and just make that mad dash. I'm not so much sure that it would set a precedent. But I wouldn't say it's not possible again in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
But it just has to have the perfect conditions.
Right. Like Anniversary or something like that, basically.
Yeah.
Who knows? They might have a new dub of Digimon for you for the new Digimon series.
But I guess
honestly,
in a way,
the original dub wasn't terrible.
All right.
Okay.
I guess in a way, like Funimation's way of that is with like DBZ Kai and all that.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm more thinking along the lines of like stuff that I watched when I was first getting into anime, where it's like I watch the dub now and I'm like, ugh. Like Vice Cruise, I think, stands out a lot for me. I don't know.
I've never heard of that.
Vice Cruise. It's like really gay.
Interesting.
That and like Gundam Wing, and like even like the first season of like Tenchi Muyo, like that kind of stuff.
The golden age of dubbing.
Yes.
Right. I'll say if they ever redub G Gundam, I'll be really upset because the
dub is perfect.
Do not touch that dub.
Yeah.
G Gundam is perfect every way.
Well, it's one thing if they nail it on the first time around. It's another thing if it's like, what is this?
I never want. I don't want anyone else saying with the help of Gyoji. And just leave that alone.
Isn't like Damon's voice actor a dentist now?
Is he really?
Oh my god! I need to find him.
This hand of mine is opening your mouth. God.
You haven't been flossing.
Another question about the dubbing process, actually. I'm really curious about the differences between processes, whether it be for stage, for film, and for voice. One of the things that, like, just small things I'm curious about is, do you do voice tests with other actors? Like screen tests exist for film, and also, when you record dialogue, is it just luck of the draw if you already have lines to react to, or do you sometimes just get thrown in and have to record your lines first?
We really don't have things where we do a voice test. If we're lucky, we're the last to record, we'll have the other actors' lines in there that you can hear them and, you can react to them. But for me, I know I would come in very early before a lot of the actors recorded their lines for One Piece. Yeah. And I would always be, before each time, before we do a set of lines, we'll watch the scene first, and, we'll have the beeps included, beep, 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 to know where, my cues are. And we'll watch it and go through it, and that's my time to really pay attention to what's going on in the scene and just make sense of the context. But also, the director, the godsend, the man who does the magic, is there to make me not go, what's going on? This guy's just a giant lizard. What?
Do they play the Japanese voices before you get there, or do they just leave that out entirely?
No, they leave in the voices, because that helps a lot with context of what's going on as well, to understand how they're sounding emotionally in their voices.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah, that'd be really weird. It's just like, here's a silent clip of the figure it out.
No, but thankfully we do have the context of given to us by the directors in detail, and also with the voices there and the Japanese track already, we can understand where they're at emotionally.
Okay.
Awesome.
And have you found that you needed to change any habits or even forget anything that you learned as a stage actor while you're doing voice acting?
Not to move around too much, because I'm a very physical actor. To incite emotion, I need to incite motion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I am very handsy, so I'll be thrusting my hands about and just upcharging them in the air. And I think on 2 occasions I've whacked the screen and the mic stand.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially with Moria, just the power that the character bolsters out with his voice, I have to just get into it, because this man can just rant and rave.
Yeah, I can see you getting very physical with that role, because a lot of his is just like proclaiming how great he is, and how his plans are working out, and he just like does these big gestures, and I can see that you wanting to do that in the studio and like punching the mic and.
But I'm pretty on point. The most of what moves is usually just my arms and hands and my torso a little bit, but I'm usually just, my bottom half is concrete.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice to know.
All right. Do we have any more questions about the dubbing industry in general?
No, I think that about covers it for me.
Yeah, my curiosity is sated.
All right. Well, actually, I have one more question for you, Chris.
All right.
Do you have any other advice for up-and-coming voice actors who are interested in dubbing anime or just acting in general with their voice? Do you have just like a final statement of what can they do? Because this is the most asked question. If you go to like Who Wants to Be a Voice Actor panel, any convention, every person's like, how do I do it? Get me hired. It's like,
please give me a job.
Like every single time. Like that's the number one most asked question. So what's your personal like statement on what people who are interested in this need to do?
Well, one of the obvious things, of course, is I would highly suggest taking an acting class. Do it cheap. Go to community college. They're not going to look down at that. Experience is experience. And, take a class, see how it is, and understand the foundations of acting before, you try to get out there. To understand the methods of what goes behind developing a character and how to get there where you need to be emotionally. But also, with those classes and being in those environments, find friends. Find people who you can act with. People who will give you genuine critique. Because one of the worst things that can hurt a young actor is not accepting critique and also not accepting your critique. Like, avoiding it, never bringing it up, not critiquing yourselves, just essentially what I like to call circle jerking. Like, oh man, you're so good. Oh my goodness, you were great. But when you said that line, I know, but when you said that line,
like, that gets you nowhere. Yeah, you need like honest critique at times, and I just want to say that I've noticed Funimation and other companies have really stepped it up with their dub game. I think we mentioned on the podcast before. I think dubbing is becoming what it needed to be like 10 years ago. And I think
there's finally some degree of respect in the community for dubs.
I find it really interesting because I'm pointing out like Space Dandy. Did any of you catch the one where it was the dancing episode?
Yeah, I did watch that one actually.
So, very interesting thing, and I'm loving what Funimation's doing recently with these actors because the guy who voiced that disco alien was actually a musical theater guy local to Dallas, and he's never done anime. He's never done anything related to anime before, and he did a killer job. He was great. He was just an actor, and he just did a fantastic job.
That's great. Yeah, that was a really fun episode. Do you see more series getting simulcast like that and getting the dub at the same time as Japan gets their episode?
I think that is quite possible with Dandy being such a just a pleasing success. I could see another thing like this happening again in the future, but of course it would have to be another big project, I assume.
Yeah, it has to have some big names behind it and get a lot of hype before it comes out in the States.
Sure.
But I think, I hope there's more of that. I really hope, because Space Dandy's been a wild ride. And getting it at the same time as Japan, so you're not spoiled for the episodes.
Right.
And you can...
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really glad Tanami's doing that, and I'm glad Funimation's doing that.
You mentioned that one of the big things that got you into voice acting was a voice acting forum. Voice Acting Club, was it?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, as a follow-up, little tiny follow-up to that voice acting tips question, do you know of any communities that are still around online or for people to jump into, maybe just do their first few recordings and stuff like that?
Yeah, like I said, the Voice Acting Club is still around. There's also another site called the Voice Acting Alliance. Those are the two main ones that I know that always get work, or like there's always auditions that be had there, be it like original projects, fan dubs, video game stuff, even paying work. Sometimes we'll have your paying work there, sometimes 2 in a row. Yeah, recently I know on the Voice Acting Alliance they had an audition for a video game, and I can't remember the name of it, but I remember going to the Screw Attack Gaming Convention convention and them unveiling that video game coming for like the PS4 online network and the Xbox One like online on their network that you can buy.
That's really cool.
So you never know when a big project like that might pop up. Actually, a video game I was in called Stick It to the Man, I got from the Voice Acting Club.
Ah, okay. Sure.
That's awesome. There's real jobs out there. You could be like, oh, this is my first time voice acting. Let me audition for this thing and accidentally end up in the game.
Yeah, most definitely. You never know what happy miracle may happen upon you.
Pretty sweet.
Awesome. So, just one. I already said last thing, but I don't care. So, is there any other projects you can talk about with us? Any exclusive scoops that won't break any NDAs?
Yeah.
Or anything you want to promote?
Of course, I need to promote One Piece Thriller Bark. DVD sets coming out in, I believe, October or I believe September, maybe. It's one of those months, September or October, and they both come out on the same day. So maybe treat yourself to something nice. And coming out soon is more Fairy Tale, and you get to hear a little bit more Ichiya in that.
Oh yeah, you did Oh, that character's ridiculous.
I recorded for him not too long ago, and that one had to be like my funniest sessions yet for that character.
Nice. I think I found the One Piece DVD on Amazon. You can pre-order it now. It should be coming out September 30th for Voyage 1.
Oh, yeah, that is for the Amazon special. Yeah, to get it that early on the 30th, you need to do specifically through Amazon.
Okay.
Well, it'd be cool if you click the Amazon link, Mouthful of Toast, and then pre-order the One Piece DVD.
Yep.
That's the best of everything.
Yep.
You'll be my favorite person if you did that.
.com.
I will personally.
Amazon.
I'll thank you. I'll go to your house and be like, thank you.
I'll spend the money that you gave us to go to your house.
On Tim's bail, rather.
Yeah.
I'll give you a knowing nod over the internet.
Yes.
That's probably more what's going to happen. But
there we go.
Yeah. So it looks like September 30th for, I believe it's Voyage 6, Season 1, or... What is the formal?
I think it's like Voyage 6, Season 1. Something like that. I know they have Voyage, then it's like Season or something like that. I can't remember.
Season 6, Voyage 1.
Voyage 1.
Okay, Voyage 1. Okay, it's Season 6, Voyage 1. Yeah.
And they have a pretty good price on it, too, on Amazon. Yeah, it's like $33.98. That is not bad for like how much stuff they put on these DVD releases.
Yeah, you get like 12, 13 episodes of DVD.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd say for new One Piece fans, that's not a bad arc to start with, because it's them trying to recruit a new member, but it's a really exciting like Halloween island. It's great, like coming up October. I think it's a great entryway to the series. And if you have more questions about that, I can tell you about One Piece anytime.
Oh, yeah. One last thing I'd like to plug related to One Piece. Actually, speaking of that, getting caught up with One Piece, Funimation is going to be releasing soon in the future these huge collection packs of 100 episodes.
Holy crap.
Ooh.
I might need those.
Don't you already own all those episodes?
Yes.
If he buys them through the Amazon link, we're okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You do you, Tim.
I gotta have them. You know how I am.
I know I already have these episodes 3 different ways, but I need to have them a third way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't understand. This is a Blu-ray release.
Look, if the Utena Blu-rays ever get released in the United States, you had better believe I'm going to buy them. So I know where you're coming from.
I think we all got our guilty pleasure, or not even guilty,
not even guilty pleasure. Just it's our passion.
Yeah, we're hyped for this. So we really want to see these DVDs in the West. So hopefully, dubbing keeps taking off. Funimation keeps getting lots of success. They had a great industry panel at Otakon this year, and I really hope that more comes down the pipeline. And it's more roles for you, Chris. I really hope for more roles for you.
Oh, thank you kindly.
Where can we follow you on social media? Like, where can we learn about what news is coming down for you? Like, what's happening?
You can follow You can follow my Twitter at Chris Guerrero, at Chris Guerrero VA, and you can also follow me at Chris Guerrero VA on my Facebook fan page.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Should I mention your Tumblr? Is that okay? Or
I believe it's a chrisguerreroVA.tumblr. I have to check back on that one, but I'm assuming you're going to put links into the podcast.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will. We will have plenty of links for our listeners.
Yeah, I'll send you my my Chris Tumblr after this.
Also, I believe can we still find your fan dubs and stuff? Should we tell people to look for those? Are you still proud of those?
Those are probably dead to the internet, out there somewhere in the ether. You may be lucky enough to go to the weird side of YouTube and find the hidden gem somewhere. But for the most part, they're just they're dead, along with the channels. Oh. I only have one channel that I use now to just, favorite videos and, music videos.
Rest in peace.
Well, at the very least, Madoka is out there for sure.
Madoka is out there. Everybody rip that.
Yeah.
Good. All right. I believe that's everything for our little bonus episode.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with our usual episode. And I want to thank Chris for joining us. Really appreciate you jumping in and telling us all about voice acting. And listeners, if you have any ideas if you have any more questions, contact Chris on his Twitter or contact us to give to him.
Yep.
And if you have any ideas for, who you want to see in the show, what do you want us to talk about? This is just kind of our overview of how it works with voice acting. We really want to do special topics and try to get an extra slice for you every week.
Oh yeah.
I believe our next bonus will be talking about the October season of anime. We'll do a full overview for you guys on what's coming up when October rolls around in the fall season.
So much.
There's a ton. That's why we need to dedicate
so much.
We need to dedicate a whole episode to give it all to you guys, and just
yeah.
But next week's usual business. And thanks again, Chris. And
well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
And
that's it. See you next week.
Check us out. Facebook, Twitter. Tell everybody you know. Listen to the podcast.
Toast out.
Toast out, baby.
See you next week.